Okay, guys, so I don't even know where to start with this, but I'm going to go back through the Anna Griffin Ribbon Bound Journal Dies set to make a journal that is more to my liking. Now, this is just a personal preference completely, and of course, any craft or whatever project you do, it's to your personal preference because you want to make it reflect your style or what you like and ease of use, all that stuff, right? It just depends on you. So this is just for me personally, and hopefully it gives you some tips. If you like what I do, then you can replicate that or use some of those tips. But so any links I have in the description box, probably for the other items, because I believe the die set has just sold out. So those would be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission if you purchase items to those links. And so really quickly, basically, when I went through the dies, we found out that the die is larger than 12 inches. And then I brought out some scrapbook paper that is Anna Griffin, and I was like, I always thought her paper was a little bit bigger, and it is. Her paper is bigger in one dimension. So let me actually, I should have grabbed that. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to get up and go grab a pack of paper. Hold on. Because I remember I was doing some kind of project, and I was like, what is up with this paper? And I realized, oh, it's bigger in one direction. So as you can see in this pack, it says it's 12 by 12, right? 12 by 12 inch sheets. But she does sell her papers like in single pages, so I think for that reason, a lot of times it'll have that little barcode right here, so maybe that's why they just go ahead and print it as long as all the rest of them. I don't know. But this is 12 in one direction, it's 12.5 inches in the other direction. So this die could fit on here, but again, that's just her paper, and there's another brand of paper that does the same thing, and I can't remember who it is, but so it will fit in this direction. Now, maybe you think this flower shouldn't be going that direction, right? So that's the other thing that's going to limit that use of Anna Griffin papers, is if the direction is going up and down and this goes this way, maybe it doesn't look great, right? But, whatever. It's whatever it is, right? Like this one. To me, it looks like this should go this way, but it would be going this direction, right? So I did recall that, and I was like, I don't know, but when I checked it, I only checked the one way. So so there's that. Secondly, I've already heard from some people that, well, not secondly, it's the same topic, that during Create, because the other people were like, oh, I wonder what she did during Create, if she was, they're going through the thing and the paper doesn't fit. Somebody had mentioned that she had mentioned, making a bigger machine, but then, obviously it's a big machine that costs more, and who's going to buy it? So they made bigger paper, and I don't know if that means that, so referring to that being 12.5 inches or what, but I don't know. I haven't seen bigger paper than what they do there. Again, you can get around it with different plates and all that. So another thing is, when I created mine, I didn't like at the end, it's like a ½ inch, almost like an inch overhang here. And, I understand why they do that, as far as like, okay, I put these tabs and that sticks out further. And then once it starts getting fatter and fatter, it gets bigger. But even at that, like, I don't think just this being longer helps all that much. For me, and you guys already know how I do my TNs or other journals, I always like them to be pretty much close to the edge. I always leave a little bit of a lip, but close to the edge, right? So if you see my TN videos, I always make it a little bit larger than 5x7, because these are 5x7. And then the lamination on the outer portion also gives it a little bit more of a lip, but not that much. It makes these things look really just dwarfed in there. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. So, as you can see, I took it apart because I was like, oh, this is getting all kinked up, and I don't really want to keep the books the way they are. So, in this video, what I'm going to do is show you how I altered this stuff to work out more like 5x7, and look at the books, and they're almost to the edge. There's a little bit of a lip, but not that much, so if you still want to put the little, bits, we can still do that. I just prefer this look, and then I went ahead and made my own books, still use the die here, so we will do that today. I'm not going to redo everything because, the other video was over an hour long. And then the last thing I did here was I made a little folder, and, we can do some fun things in here. And that's it. And it's very Christmas related because it's the paper that was near me for some reason, why I still have the Diamond Press Christmas paper sitting out, I don't know. And then I went ahead and used some of the paper from that same paper pack to do the binding, and then I did the binding in organza ribbon, which is actually a ½ inch ribbon, and it looks really lovely. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to do the whole binding again in this video because, that takes a while. The other video I try to go very slowly and deliberately so you guys can kind of see what's going on. So we'll do that. I did So basically what I'm doing in this video is show you how I made these inserts, but I'm going to make them fit this, okay? And we'll talk about what I did over here to make this smaller, but it's nothing really, it's just I cut these pieces, right? So whenever I stop this video, I'm going to show you what I did to undo it, because all you do is basically just go back through and undo it, and took everything out, took out all the binding, but I kept the ribbons because I don't need those. I'm going to redo at least one of the books in here so you can see what I did. We'll talk about the folder. It's the same folder I do for all of my swaps, like my folder swaps or the Traveler's Notebook videos I do. So it's exactly the same. All I did was put this down the center so I can get the holes punched, and that's it. So that's very basic. I also brought out the concertina dies because some people had mentioned, and I totally forgot about this because this came out like 4 or 5 months ago, right? And then they did the Create, and the concertina dies came out around the same time. And if you can see, they're very much the same shape, right? The only thing is this is not 5x7. This is much bigger than that. It's 7, but it's way bigger than 5 inches. But this will cut the 5x7 inch thing. So what they were saying is if you want to cut yourself some inserts with this die, with this die, you're gonna have a perfect 5x7. Instead of doing all this weird stuff where, like in the video where we made the book and then used this die and it made it kind of rough and kind of cut like this in the back, because by the time it gets there, it's barely touching that last page, right? Doing it all at the same time. So you use this and then you run this through a few times. The only thing is with this, once you have all your papers and you fold them in half and you layer them into each other like you do with any insert, what happens? These papers start sticking out, right? The ones in the center, because they can't occupy that same space, so they start pushing that way, right? Which is not my favorite. So that's one reason I did like that at the end she put the die after you make your book, and it makes it nice and even. But look at, I mean, the thing looks pretty beat up, guys. It's not my favorite look. For this one, what I did is I cut my own sheets, and then I ran them through 2 at a time, because about 2 of them, and these are cardstock, okay? This isn't just like typing paper, it's cardstock that are in these inserts. And I ran them through 2 at a time with this guy in the center, let it do its thing, fold it in half, and then, you know, I went ahead and did this thing where you make the book, and then I took it to my guillotine and I cut that extra bit off, and then I punched it. That's all I did. And this punch is actually a Weird Memory Keeper's punch that kind of has a rounded edge. So I was like, you know what, I'll do that, like a little decorative edge, and that's what I did. The reason I didn't do these, it'll look cute, but hopefully you're noticing, this kind of cuts in here, this concertina card dies. So this area is not going to be there anymore, right? Your card has like a shape, it's really cute. This thing, you're going to miss the top and bottom hole, which is fine because like it's not going to be there, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no paper there for it to catch that. So what you would do is if you do use these, in my opinion, I'm assuming, you have a few of these and they're folded now they're a book, you're just not going to have that hole. So you're still going to do the binding and still come up through the book binding, but there's not going to be another hole here to catch it. You're just going to ignore that and just keep doing your binding. You know what I'm saying? So you use this hole, but you're not going to do anything here. It's just like an empty space, and you're just going to keep doing what you're doing regardless. Like, don't even pay attention to that. But still catch that hole, right? So when you come up here, you're going to come up through this hole, and you're just going to get into that crevice, basically, and then go back down or whatever it is that you have to do. Okay, so I would, if you're going to use this, that's my only tips. Other than that, when you're folding in half, they're going to stick out, you know, the ones that are further in, and if that doesn't bother you, great. If it does, I don't know what you're going to do, because you can just reset the die, use this die, and cut it again. It's too problematic for me. I didn't even do that. So, let's, let me clear some of this stuff out, and honestly, this first part is just going to be talking about what I did, and then I'm going to remake the inserts for this, which will show you how I did this. It's just gonna be different sizing, okay? Because on this one, I legit made these 5x7. These inserts are 5x7, and then basically this part is smaller than what this normally would cut for you. So let me clear some of this stuff away, because honestly, I'm just like, there's so many things here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm going to show you right now is how I took it apart. I should have just said that way I didn't have to edit twice, but that's okay. What I'm going to show you right now is just taking this apart, because obviously in the last video you guys saw, I had put it all together, and it was ready to go. So right now I'm just going to show you how I just kind of went through and pulled the ribbons back out. so that was fun. And it wasn't even hard. I mean, you just go back through and kind of just pull them out. So I'm going to keep these guys. So these inserts are, I was going to say they're actually a little smaller than 5x7 because by the time you put that edge die, it does cut it back a little bit. But if you're including this tab, it is 5, right? The space it takes up. The 7 inches should be there though. Yeah, so it's 7 because that's just legitimate 7 inches. So if you haven't seen the first video, I'll have it linked in the description box because you'll need to have known kind of the basic construction. So this is the actual folder. Now if you guys recall, since this die is so huge, also, even if the die covered the paper right, I was still going to cut it here and here because I don't like 2 pieces of paper being stuck together like this. It just makes it really tight and horrible, and I don't like it. At least that's my opinion. I don't like it. I don't like it. So what I did, even if you cut the one big die, I cut basically right on the score lines, boop, boop, and I made 2 the front and the back flap, right? Even if this was one piece. What's funny is that if you stretch it out now, it does go edge to edge, but it doesn't really because the paper. Anyway, you guys saw the other video. You know what I did. Cut them, and then I went ahead and adhered them. So this is not together. Obviously, you can tell I turned this piece around. So this is its own piece. So on this one, what I did after I did the same thing, I cut one piece out of my paper. This blue paper, I cut that plus the spine from one piece of paper, and then I cut that off. So I would have the spine free floating, you know. And then I cut another piece on this side, even though I still cut it on this side. I cut another piece for the back page. This hopefully is not confusing. It shouldn't be confusing. So I cut another piece here, just like I did in the first video when I did this. But then I took my pieces, this flap, you know, that's on its own, with the other one, and I cut them at 5 1/4 inches. So I feel like I need to redo this just so you guys can see what I mean. But it's not the biggest deal, guys. You're going to have 2 pieces of paper, just like I showed in the other video. And from this edge to this edge, I cut at 5 1/4. So this piece got cut off. And this is only 5 1/4 inches now, right? The flap. And then the back cover is only 5 1/4 inches. And then I went ahead and adhered it just like I did in the last video. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, watch the last video. I went and adhered them here, stuck it down, so as you can see they're open, they're not together. Glued the front, glued the back on, and then glued that center just to reinforce this. I glued that down in here. Okay. As far as the folder, again, just like I always make my folders, it was a piece of paper that was 11 by 10 inches. I scored on the 11-inch side, I scored at 1/2 inch, 5 1/2, and 1/2 inch off the other side. Fold those in, right? You know, all that. On the 10-inch side, I scored it at 3 inches, and I folded it up, and I made the pockets. So I'm not going to repeat all that, but that's what I did. While it was flat, of course, all I did was take this thing and just be careful, making sure I wasn't going to cut into this bottom part, because this die, unfortunately, has a cut edge for some reason. Makes no sense to me, because usually even whatever you're doing, you're already going to have things cut, so there's no reason for there to be cut edge. But whatever, it's there. So I just had this, and I ran it through my machine, and then I got the holes I need to do the ribbon binding. Okay, so that's that. Super basic. For these guys, just like I said earlier, for this book, since I did the 5 1/4, I cut these guys 7 inches by 10 inches. So 7 by 10. It's 3 pieces that are legit, you know, cardstock. These are like a pearlescent cardstock from Crafter's Companion. This outer one is a pearlescent cardstock also from Crafter's Companion. I cut them all 7 by 10, okay? So 2 at a time, I ran through my die cutting machine like this, these 2, and we're going to do it today. And then I placed this right in the center, cut it out, and it cut the holes for 2 of them, no problem, good to go. I put these 2 together, the other cardstock with the cover, ran those through, good to go. Folded them all together in half, and then I took them to my guillotine, and all this stuff that stuck out extra I just cut off. And then I took my We Are Memory Keepers punch, and I'm going to do that today, but I was just telling you the measurements of this, okay? Because that's how I did it, and that's how I ended up with this. And then I used organza ribbon and a needle, and because I went and dug through all my yarn stuff, and I found a needle that worked, so I'll talk about that when we get to this other one. So today, what I'm going to do for this one is go ahead and make books that are this size. Now, what's nice about the 5x7 is that you can find printables for 5x7 or like Midori Travelers or these kind of things in notebooks. This is gonna not be 5 by 7 anymore. It's gonna be 7 by like 5 1/4 or something, because I want it to make it a little bigger to fit in here nicer. So let's see. These cover pieces. So I'm gonna show you how to make inserts for this. Legitimately the whole thing without cutting it short like I did over there when I did 5 1/4. Just kept the spine. This is the whole thing. So if from corner, or you know, the spine to the edge here, it is, I don't know, what is this, almost 5 1/2. Let me make sure, because I feel like, yeah, over here that's where it kind of starts curving in. So it's about 5 1/2. I mean 5 and, you know, 7/16 or something weird. So I think what I'll do is make my inserts 5 1/4 legit. So it's only 5 1/4 inch bigger. So what I'm going to do is grab papers from here. And let's see. I just want to use whatever. Maybe some of this green paper. What else is in here? I just need a few of them. Maybe I'll still make the outside of this one this. We'll make it kind of scrapbooky. Or like junk journal-y, I guess. Maybe this one can be the glitter paper. There's some glitter paper in here. The only problem with the glitter paper is that it would be glitter on one side and white and gross on the other side. Let me just grab some regular paper. I'll be right back. So what I'm doing, I'm still doing the books just like she had 4 pages. So it's going to be a cover and then 2 other pages. Actually, I'll make this the cover again of one of them, one of the inserts. We're making 3, or you can make a folder like I did or whatever. But what I'm trying to do is just do whatever I want. So here we have pearlescent white paper. And I was stacking them like this together just so that they're even more even. So all I'm doing with these papers is I'm going to cut them at 7 inches. And since we need the books to be 5 1/4, our inserts, just so that they can kind of match up a little more with how big that cover is, I'm going to do 5 1/4, that's 10 1/2. So I'm going to go over this way and cut this at 10 1/2. And I'm cutting 2 pieces of paper right now. Okay, and I'll do the same with these guys, since these, oh, sorry guys, are the same size. You know, I'll need the 7-inch paper going this way, and I'm just using some fun papers, because why not at this point? If you want to use typing paper or whatever, printables, right, you want to make your printouts, go for it. By 10 1/2, and I made one of the papers a little bit wonky. Let me fix that. 10 1/2, okay. I can see that one of my papers moved on me over here. Okay. So, this is just for one insert. And then I have all these pieces to do something else with later. Maybe you make a hidden altered paper clip or whatever fun thing you want to do. Okay, I have these 2. They're still together, these 2 pieces. I'm going to put these down just so I can see what's going on. And I'm using my grid. And basically, you want to center this right in the center. And what I did yesterday, because I thought this was easier, is I went ahead and scored these guys. Of course, I don't know where my scoring tool is. I'll just use this one. This isn't the one that actually comes with this. But you can just lay it out like you saw here on my grid, and then go right to the center and lay this down and tape it down. You know, that'll work. But what I did is I actually went ahead and scored mine at, so we're going to score it at 5 1/4. But yesterday when I did mine, I was going to score it at 5 inches. So 5 1/4. Just give them a good scoring. It kind of got wonky there. And then I'm going to take this. I'm not folding or anything. I'm just putting that on here. And you can kind of feel that little divot there where it's going to go. And I'm going to tape these down. And this is 2 sheets. Remember, I'm doing 2 at a time, so it's still a little bit faster. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and it's going to make my holes, okay? And I'll be right back. See the little holes are there. And so let me remove this very carefully. And you can already put these together in the way you're going to put them in your book or whatever. I'm just trying to show you just a different idea. And I know a lot of people did say, oh, I also don't like how much of a lip is left on that, on the book, you know? So I thought, okay, I'll do this right quick. And since that thing does have a cutting edge and it's weird, what I'm going to do is take this to my guillotine and just trim off this end. Like, we're just working with it, guys, you know? Again, this is handmade, so like I probably did go over a little bit of 7 inches instead of just there. Okay, keep it nice and straight. And I'm just going to cut off that little bit. Okay. Something like that. Just to trim off that part. Okay, so we have this guy. Leave it alone. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing with these guys. I'm going to score them. There's 2 again together. I'm going to score them at the 5 1/4. And if you're making it, you know, with the smaller, again, 5 inches, so 5 1/4. And again, since this is a little bit harder to see, what I do is I actually just pick it up and see right through here, see where it's actually going to be scoring. And again, you don't have to do the score lines. I just like that to help me out. And I'm going to lay that on there, tape it down, and run these 2 through, and I'll be right back. All right, so let's take this off of here. And of course, you can put as many inserts as you want. They're just going to keep getting smaller and smaller, the ones on the inside, as they push out and out, right, with all the cardstock or whatever it is that you're using. But, so I like this amount because, honestly, you have a front cover, obviously the back, and then the front and backs of all those pages, so it makes a nice little insert. Now, again, these are bigger because I'm going to go ahead and make it so it works for whatever's going on there. Now, I want this as my cover page. And these are basically symmetrical, so like, see this time, you know, I didn't have to cut off that extra bit because it just worked out. But I have all these guys, so I probably could have just like mixed and matched. I just kept the papers together the way they were. But let's say that one, so from this one, it's gonna go, that's the cover sheet, it's gonna go to a pearlescent white paper, then it goes to the green paper, and then it goes to pearlescent white again. And there you go. And you can either score each one of these by themselves or just hold them together and score them all together, whatever it is you want. What I was doing is I was kind of looking through and making sure like my holes are kind of lined up. And then I would fold them. There's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with the other, you know, with the original dies and all that. No, I'm just using my finger to kind of help me keep the placement. But I just like mine to be a little bit less lippy. So, alright, so then on this side you can still see the little holes, and they're more or less lined up. That part doesn't matter, they'll shift around. Okay, now, you see you have all these pieces sticking out? Because that's what happens, because where one goes, the other displaces and it starts pushing them. So, what I do is it depends on the paper and how many or how thick it is. Like right now, if I bring this over here and line it up, maybe I can cut all those at once, but maybe I can't, so maybe I'll put just a few, try to slice that down, get a little closer, and basically you want to end up with a 5 1/4 inch cut, right? So I'm just going to keep doing that until it looks nice and smooth. And that's just what I do if you want to. You don't have to. If you don't mind that they're sticking out, then leave them sticking out. See? Alright, so now we're good. Okay. I'm probably going to weave one of these back in just so you can see that again, but that's about it. Now, they're like this. Not looking pretty good. Not too bad. Not too shabby. I have this We Are Memory Keepers punch, and for some reason, the punch... Ooh, I better do the right one. This one, the deco one, it really echoes what's going on over here as far as the little shape of it. Now, you can definitely take this and maybe even just run it through this whole die, or again, take the very edge die like you're supposed to and try to cut that. It's going to look really, really rough. The last few pages are going to look really rough. So all I did, and I can't even remember right now if I did it all at once. I think I didn't. I think I did half and half. So I'm going to open it up to the center and take my deco side and give it a punch. And give it a punch. And I'm holding it with my hands, this book together, because obviously it's not bound yet, so you can do this afterwards too, after it's already in the journal. You don't have to do it right now. And I'm just punching all these corners, because for whatever reason, it really looks similar. Probably just a corner rounding would be fine too, obviously. It's whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and insert this and add it in. So what I'm going to do is go grab the little needle I decided to use yesterday. I'll be right back. So when I made the first video, out of sheer laziness, I just wasn't going to go dig out my needles, but also I wanted, you know, if you don't have them, because a lot of people don't, if you don't do embroidery or if you don't do like knitting or crocheting, you might not have these. But in this little kit, I had this little set of needles, and I will link hopefully just the needles by themselves because I've seen Amazon, they sell bundles like this, but sometimes they'll sell just the needles. I just looked for the smallest one, and this is kind of what I was saying. Like, you don't want to use like this big guy because it has a huge eye, and it's going to be that much harder to get through the little holes. So like this one is smaller, and it'll accept the organza ribbon I used yesterday. Again, I burned the edge, and then I stuck it through here, and I was good to go. Now, I guess I'll still use this, even though I like the look of the organza. It looks really cute. I'm just going to see which one is longer, because I'll save that one for the last piece of binding. If you guys remember the last one, I'll use this one right now. It has to go back through and do some cute stuff. Another friend of mine, I think Dana, was it? She said that she just did hers all the same, and you know, it says that in the instructions. If you want to just do them all straight, like I'm going to show you right now, which is the first and second way of, you do it straight, and then the last one comes around, does all this looping, which isn't a big deal. It's just looping around the last two. It's not hard. Just do the same thing, but loop it. She said she did them all straight, and then at the end she added bows in each one. You know, tied a bow, tied a bow, tie a bow, tie a bow. So just another cute thing you can do. So thank you for that. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to put a little knot over here just for now, just in case I don't want it to slip out. And you guys, I did it one time, and then of course yesterday I did a second book on my own. I don't even have to look at this anymore because it's so easy. Like once you get it down, it's down, right? So we're going to start in the center, middle hole. Just go up. And I said I wasn't going to do this again, but you know what? It's so easy, you guys. I think this is going to be my middle book. I should have started with the other one, but I think I'm going to put this one in the middle just because of the cover. And this time I'll pay attention to my leaves are going up. Yesterday I put them facing down. We're going to go right. It doesn't matter if you start the middle, wherever you want to start. But I'm using the middle holes because in the front I'm probably going to put a book that's just green or whatever. So middle hole, you went from in out. You're going to go into that middle hole. Okay. And then from there, you're going to go to the next hole and into your book. Like I'm already in there and I didn't have to do anything because I fished out my needles. Okay, so in there, from that hole, you're gonna go up the last one. So up through the last one. And again, yesterday I was being very neat to pay attention to all this kind of whatever's going on here, if it's looping and stuff, but I can take care of that later. Back through here. Nope, and I already fell out of my needle. And again, if you don't have the needle, just burn the end of this ribbon and it works really well. But they're relatively inexpensive, and like I said, I'll link some there. We're going to go back through this hole. And if you need it to be slower and all that, you guys know in that first video I went through everything pretty slowly, in my opinion, so that you can kind of keep up with that. Now in here, we're going to skip everything and go to this one, and you're basically going to do the same thing. So you're going to go up that second to the last one, down its neighbor here. Oh wow, look at that, it went right in. And then from there, you're going to go back up on the inside from that same hole that we just, started off with. Be careful with the needle. That is one thing I will say, because you can split your ribbon. It'll go right in there. Okay, and then now we're going to go right back down the center. And that's it, guys. It's like, once, like the TN ones, I never have to go look at my old video or pay attention again, because like I know what it is after you've done it once or twice. You can kind of remember. I'm going to undo this knot that I gave myself at the beginning so it wouldn't fall through. And that's it. And then I'll show you what that looks like as far as this book. So hopefully if you guys like the idea of making your little binder, you'll try that out. And before I really tie this, what I'm going to do is just take a moment and go through and make sure my ribbon is laying down nicely. Okay. Like I said, I wasn't really worried about the ribbon on the inside, although you can definitely pay attention to that. I'm more worried about this one being nice and flat. Okay, like this one's all twisty and I can totally work that, but I'm not going to. And I'm just going to knot this back up the way it was. And this is the same ribbon I used earlier. I just pulled it out and redid it because I just wasn't super happy with the way it looked. So now guys, we have this book that is 5 1/4 and it goes almost to the edge. You have a little bit of a lip, not super too much lip. And you can still put the little, side pieces if you want, the little tabs and all that. And now my book has nice pages, it's nice and thick. It feels nice. It's more scrapbooky in this one, or a little more junk journal-y instead of just having like the type weight paper. And I think it looks good. And again, if you want to make a folder for this one, for this size, I would say, or let me see off the top of my head, we still need it to be 10.5. Okay, so you would have an 11.5 inch piece of paper by 10. Okay, 11.5 inch by 10. On the 11.5 inch side, you're going to score it 1/2 inch on the edge. You're going to score it at 5 3/4, and then again 1/2 inch off the other edge, and then 3 inches off the bottom, off the 10 inch side. Score it at 3 inches, fold it up. You know, you have your little 1/2 inches on the sides to make a nice, this little area here. And there you go. And then just, you know, cut your pocket, and then lay down that piece, run it through, and you're good to go. So it's still gonna be 7 inches tall, but it's gonna be 5 1/4 inches on either side of the pocket. Wow, these pockets are 5 inches on either side. So hopefully I help you out. Exactly the same thing. I just use organza on that one and use my little needle. And so what I'm gonna do to finish this guy up is I'm gonna make another sturdy one of these guys, and probably another folder. Why not? I think that'll be cute. For this guy, and I'll put it in the back, and that'll be it. So just another quick, I feel like that was quicker than all that other weird stuff we did, but you know, it's up to you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that gave you some more ideas, and yeah, you know, share whatever it is that you would like to. I know a lot of people were like, yeah, it was a real bummer that that die is so big, or some other people, they took it off their list after they saw that, but honestly, I wasn't going to use it that big anyway, so I guess that doesn't bother me, because I was always going to cut this down to be more like this one. And it's negligible, the difference, but do you see how this one just looks nicer than all this flappy? I don't know. I just like this better. But it'll be really nice once I fill it in with the other inserts. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and thank you so much for your kind words. Everybody was like, oh, that's so great, or at least the Japanese ribbon binding, because it can be tricky. But I think once you get it, you understand. It goes up the middle, down the next hole, out the middle, up the bottom, then back into the hole you just came from, go back over here and do the same thing, and then out and in. I don't know. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.